And in the back of my mind, I had a story that I heard, which was kind of acting as my force for how exactly to think things through. I don't remember who it was. I heard a story about a Rosh Yeshiva once, and this was in, I guess, the 50s or 60s, when news was starting to come out that cigarettes were not as healthy as they once thought that they were. But he was already very much, chain smoker. But he realized he had to stop. So he decided one day, okay, this is it. I'm going to stop. Again, I'm sure somebody will tell me later who it was. I don't remember who it was, which Rosh Yeshiva it was. And so what he did was he said, okay, this is it. I'm going to stop on Monday, whatever it was, Monday. He ran around everybody who he saw for a week prior. He said, I'm stopping smoking. Next Monday, that's it. Everybody saw it. Next person, I'm stopping smoking. Next Monday, that's it. It's over. Everybody, and people started wondering, what in the world is going on? Don't want to ask, but what's going on? So finally somebody got the guts and he asked him, he said, just wondering, we understand it's a wonderful thing, you're stopping smoking, but why the need to tell everybody? So he said, so the Rosh Yeshiva answered him, and it was extremely profound for me. He said, look, if I just resolve for myself I'm going to quit smoking, so I'll come up with excuses for why I shouldn't, I'll just have one, I'll just have that, next week I'll stop. If I tell every single person, there's going to be 1,000 people who know that I'm starting to smoke on Monday. It's going to be extremely embarrassing for me if I pick up a cigarette on Monday. And I've already told everybody in the room, everybody in the base medrash knows that I've quit smoking, and I pick up a cigarette, everybody's going to look at me. This is the way that I can obligate myself to really stop smoking on Monday. That embarrassment, this will be a mechaya for me to stop smoking. And I was thinking to myself, is there any way that I can create this type of context where I feel almost this obligatory, that's self-imposed, mind you, but this obligatory feeling that I've got to cover ground, I've got to keep on going. And also inherent in that thought was, what is the type of thing that's going to motivate, that's going to really create an enthusiasm for me to continue learning. So I was sitting down and thinking about different ideas, and one thought I had was, well, every week I can write up some divrei Torah or something which relate to something that I learned, and I can even publish it, make it available on a blog, if you're aware of what that is. But then I realized, I said, I have a talent for writing, but I'm not really motivated by writing. I don't really enjoy writing all that much. So it doesn't really make sense for me to do something, or to commit myself to doing something that doesn't really motivate, I don't really enjoy doing, in order to get myself to learn. That just doesn't make any sense. I continue thinking, I said, what is it that I enjoy doing? What is it that's going to motivate me? And I realized that I enjoy giving shiurim. I enjoy speaking. And I give a couple shiurim here and there. I enjoy that process of giving the shiur, of developing the thoughts, and then giving it over, speaking. And also, thankfully, I'm just arrogant enough to think that people might actually want to hear it. So, I think a little bit more. I said, why not? It seemed like a crazy idea at the time, but why not start a podcast? Now, I don't know, what the level of familiarity with everybody with a podcast, but just very quickly, a podcast is just a series of audio-digital files. It's something that you record, recording of audio or even a video, which is distributed over the internet. It's on some topic, and it's made available through some subscription form. And the subscription format, so that somebody who wants to listen to the podcast will subscribe to that podcast, and it's delivered over some interval of time, daily, weekly, monthly. The person will get it automatically. And basically what you do is I sit in front of the computer and just record myself. And it's a really very different experience. If you've ever tried to give a shiur to nobody, it's really a very interesting experience, but you get used to it after a while. So I decided I was going to start a podcast on what I learned that week. Not more than 10 or 15 minutes, so it wouldn't be overwhelming. Give me an opportunity to develop it, to prepare for it, make it available. And the truth is, it was a little bit scary. You are kind of making yourself available. On the one hand, you want people to listen to it. On the other hand, you don't want people to listen to it. And so the thinking was that this would be something that would motivate me, something that I enjoy doing, but also to obligate myself. You know, people, if even just one person was quote-unquote expecting it, then I'd have a feeling of almost a self-obligation. I've got to put this out. I've got to make sure to learn something this week so I can put out the podcast. So that was kind of the thinking. And I started publicizing a little bit, and slowly there was a small following. So what's been the result? I mean, this was, to give you an idea, this was back in February. That's when I began this project. So what's been the result? I think the greatest result is the fact that we're here. The fact that I finished it. I mean, what I could have done is just said, forget it. I'm going to stop. Way back in February, where things were really slowing down, January, February, I could have just said, forget it. I'm, you know, just another project going awry, and just let it die. The fact that we're here shows that it has had, thank God, the desired effect. Obligated myself to learn. Just the fact that I even think that people are waiting for it. I mean, you know, and just almost to confirm it for myself, one week for whatever reason, I try to put it out on the same day every week. But one week I was a little bit late, and I made it available, and somebody emailed me and said, I was wondering where it was. You know, so I was like, somebody is waiting for it. You know, whether or not, it doesn't mean that their life is not going to go on if it's not available. That's not the point. The point is that for myself, I feel like I've got to make sure to put it out. It's a self-obligation. And so in that respect, it's had exactly the intended result that I'd hoped. And, you know, the project could have been dead, but instead here we are to Siyum. And I've already begun the next series. You know, I started the next work, Netzach Yisrael. And I think it's pretty clear to say that had I not undertaken that, you know, something new, something very different to put out this podcast series, we wouldn't be sitting here. Number two, second result, or second consequence is really a forced clarity in what I'm learning. And I'm sure all of you have experience when you have to teach something. You have to gain a much better clarity in what you're teaching. You have to be much clearer in the subject matter. And it's forced me to really pay attention, even if I'm tired. And, you know, Marel is not always easy to go through, to work through. But it's really forced me to pay attention to what I'm learning. And as I'm preparing, to really clarify the subject matter. And not only that, when I'm sitting and writing and preparing and writing out the outline, a lot of times I come up with new insights. And you know, it expands the thoughts that I wouldn't have developed had I not undertaken this project and podcast. And so that's been a real benefit as well. And the truth is that these two first things, consequences, would be true if absolutely nobody was listening. This is just for myself. This is just a benefit for myself, something that I've gained. Even if nobody is listening and nobody's gaining anything on the other end, I think it's been an incredible experience. But the reality is that almost like icing on the cake, is that we've got more Torah in the world. When you think about it for a second, you know, the opportunity this has created, if somebody had asked me, you know, would you be able to give a shir on the Maharal once a week at Shul? So my gut reaction would be, I'm sorry, I don't have time. I'm pretty booked up. I can't do it. I can't commit to a particular time. And how many people would come? You know, even if I would find some time, how many people would come? So we get some people come. But as we all know, every week, you know, well, this person couldn't make it, and then I couldn't make it one week, and then. But the way things have been set up now is I could do it on my schedule whenever it works out for me. I've got a little time over here, 20 minutes over here, whatever it is. I could do it on my schedule, and the people who are listening, not only we're not confined geographically, because it's not just the people who are coming to Shul, it's people all over the country and, you know, hopefully over the world, and they do it on their own time. So there's no excuse of, you know, I can't come to Shir this week. Well, you know, let's do it tomorrow then. So in that respect also, it's almost like icing on the cake is we've got more Torah available that wasn't available before.